wasn't working for a second.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Yes, I try call again and I realized that like it says that you can't go online. I'm not sure why, but happy to
I
have
just
you. Yeah, hang on
thanks.
1 second. Okay, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. So, maybe we can start off with like explaining like uh how you started and also how old are you, and maybe I guess I can tell the our viewers whether you're single because when I start to broadcast like our posters and stuff, and then there's people commenting saying that you're very cute and stuff, and I have no idea whether you're single and stuff, so I can't advise them on that, and so yeah, maybe you can share that as well.
So I'm 31. I'm half Belgian, half Chinese, and yes, I'm single at the moment. Um,
Okay,
yeah.
so guys, he's single, and I guess are they okay to slide into your DM? It,
Sure.
okay, and yeah, his DM is open. You slide in, and okay, so I guess before we start, maybe we can share because I noticed that you have watercolor paints and paintings and also digital arts. And do you have a preference, or it's kind of like, oh, do you started whether like watercolor art first or digital arts, or probably at the same time?
So I went to school in Paris, and we basically were told to do all kinds of techniques.
Okay.
Um, and there was a couple of girls in my class who were very good with watercolor. And when I went to school, I only learned acrylic and oil. But watercolor looked really cool, and it looked very fast and effortless. So that's when I started to experiment with watercolor, kind of on my own. And I was really bad at it, but I just enjoy painting with it because it's exciting. It moves. You have to react fast and wait for things to dry. It's dynamic. And then digital, I actually didn't like very much because I'm not very good at drawing on like the tablet. I like to like draw and see the line where I'm drawing. But then a friend of mine had his iPad and he had his Apple Pencil out and he was drawing directly on. I was like, that looks so cool. So then I played with it, and afterwards I was convinced I had to get an iPad, and that's how I started doing digital stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a preference, or like you enjoy both and stuff, or am I right to say that watercolor paintings is like your go-to because most of your artworks on Kaidosa is water paintings, and then you have a separate one for your digital arts.
Yeah, so before it actually used to be combined together.
Okay.
So I actually archived all the digital stuff and started a separate account because I was afraid it might be too confusing for people. So that's why I separated them. But I don't have a preference. I think digital is better for my work that's more like social commentary and comics and things like that. And then watercolor I like for maybe more personal painting or yeah, for more personal topics.
Okay, because I personally find your digital painting is really cute, and watercolors is kind of it's a very more personal touch and more artsy in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
that I think that's intentional. My watercolor is something that I want to maybe push into galleries and um, do gallery work with. And then the comic stuff, the digital stuff, I think I'm pushing that more towards like editorial or being able to share with I don't know, just comedy. I like humor.
Okay, so guys tuning in, so we have a column by Kai. It's on our website. So if you have not seen it, go check it out. And Kai also prepared some of the artworks right now with him. Some are featured on our website, and some are not featured on our website. So you'll be seeing it live here with us. Yeah. So maybe you can just share with us some of the inspirations, and then at the same time, maybe you can just, if you like, you can show us the actual artworks as well.
Oh yeah, sure. So I think in the article you guys saw maybe this one.
Yeah.
And basically the story is that I wanted to be a marine biologist or a botanist when I was in university. but I ended up picking art instead. And so my compromise is
To
I,
mesh
I put
both
a,
out.
I put a lot of like plants and animals into my work uh, to be symbolic, but also because yeah, I just really like them. Um, it's always been influence for me. But sometimes I also paint things that feel very relevant as well. And it doesn't matter if it's digital or if it's watercolor. It's just I always tend to do that. I'm very inspired by like the now.
Okay. And so okay, so that explains why there's so many plants and stuff because of your alternate, I wouldn't say like alternate passions, but more of like you're trying to mash both of the passions up. And I also noticed like your watercolor paintings and also your digital other arts. There's a huge part of like a queer life in terms of like I wouldn't say provocative, but interesting. And so what exactly are other inspirations that transpired you in terms of like your artworks behind besides your love for plants and marine biologists?
Well, I think it's all connected as well. So a lot of times it's not just, I like plants and then I put them in there. It's usually carnivorous flowers. It's usually plants that maybe have a certain meaning. So for example, the carnivorous plants, there's the whole idea that, it's a plant, but it eats to survive. It lives in, nutrient poor, like surroundings. And so I use that a lot in my paintings to kind of symbolize maybe how I'm feeling or where I'm at. Not to say that like I'm, uh, uh, kind of like that aggressive or living in poor conditions, but it's just, it's like symbolic of maybe mood and feeling. And then also there's obviously a lot of sensuality and sexuality in my work. And I think that's a huge influence as well. In my painting. And then also for the digital stuff, I really like to have it as part of like the comics and stuff because that's something that people can relate to, and it's funny a lot of the times.
Right. So yes, so a question by Asia.gay. Do you think art has to be provocative to be good in order to be good?
Um, I guess I'm quite relaxed on that because I enjoy craft art, which is maybe sometimes more decorative. Um, I think it's equally valid as anything else. So I think for me personally, I think art has to be truthful. Um, if it's truthful, then it'll impact somebody. If you really, you know,
Yeah.
if it's honest.
So for your artwork, do you have like, people sliding into your DM or rather like reaching out to you and, for some particular artworks or like, or rather like, I wouldn't, inspirations or rather, help them and like opening up and stuff and also kind of like things that they relate to and stuff. Basically, for your artwork, do you get like people reaching out to you with some of their, thinking process and things like that?
I think there's definitely a lot of artists on Instagram and that I talk to, have dialogues with, and kind of share ideas. And sometimes, particularly watercolor, uh, because in a way, watercolor is that first art form that children play with.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that's your impression is, it's just a child's kind of stuff, but it's actually quite complicated. So I get a lot of watercolor questions um, all the time, like what my process is, how to do certain things. So that's what they mostly ask me about. In terms of expression, I used to get that a lot in college. A lot of my peers would be like, "How are you able to express yourself so much when the prompt of the assignment is so vague?" I actually thrive better when it's more open-ended. I like I like thinking and coming, kind of like breaking rules. If somebody says, "Oh, draw a blue plant," my mind goes crazy. But other people might think, "Oh, that's too open-ended. I don't know what to do." But I'm very good at like figuring out what I want.
Okay. And I understand that you are based in Hong Kong, and so like, how long have you been in Hong Kong? And
Well, it's kind of based, but basically I've been traveling between Los Angeles, Hong Kong, and France.
Okay.
So
And
I think
so,
it's
like, so for now, you're based in Hong Kong, right now.
right now at the moment, yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, and one of the questions that I prepared to ask, and is that I understand that you're biracial, and so how, like, do you particularly identify more towards one or both, and also like how is it like you being a biracial living in Hong Kong?
Well, I think the biracial thing is very interesting for me because a lot of people can't, won't necessarily look at me and think, oh, he looks half Asian. Like that just already like goes over their head. So I'm not treated as an Asian or half
Okay.
Asian, like a lot of my friends are who are half Asian, because some mixed people you can see that they're mixed and then they're like, oh, okay, but for me it's not. So it's always a shock for a lot of people when I speak Mandarin or Shanghainese or they see me with like my mom speaking out in public. Um, so that's like it's funny, but it's also a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. And then the other aspect is I I'm half Belgian, but I never grew up there, so unfortunately I don't speak Flemish or French very well. Well, I don't speak Flemish at all, and French I only speak a little bit because I used to live in France.
Okay.
So I feel quite uh, disconnected at times from my European roots.
You mentioned uncomfortable earlier on, like can you kind of elaborate on that? Like what exactly makes you uncomfortable?
Um, well, from like personal experience, it's weird hearing maybe people say like, "Oh, you're not Asian," or "You're not really Asian," um, because like a lot of people they don't know how you grew up or they don't know who
Right.
your family and relatives are. So it's and then sometimes when I post pictures of the food I'm eating or me just kind of hanging out, I'm always wondering if people think I'm like cosplaying or, like, because like that's something that goes through my head because people are always just very shocked, like, because I don't look half Asian. Um, but yeah, like I feel very like Asian on the inside. So
Okay. Okay, I understand uh how that feels. And also I was very careful when I make mentions that you're biracial, and also just want to talk about how is it like living as a biracial in Hong Kong and stuff. Um, I was very careful not to use the word mix because I mean I read out about it and stuff. I googled and stuff just to know more about like what are the other alternatives and stuff. And mix is a bit weird. I'm not sure whether you feel that. Like, I just want to check on your thoughts and how do you feel on that? Like, there's like articles and also like parents of biracials. They doesn't like when people try to describe like, oh yeah, mixed child and stuff, because they say that like it's human beings. They are not mixed, like like mixed rice, or rather it's not like you're mixing one thing and another. Is a human and living things, and so they do not really like the term. Just want to check on your thoughts on that. Like, does it bother you? Do you see that there's a difference and stuff? And do people use the word mix fairly frequent on you?
um, I think it doesn't really bother me because uh, like I just kind of accept it because when you go fill out most forms now, it does say like mixed race or even
Yes.
like on dating apps it says mixed race. So I in a way have to identify as that because a lot of times they don't give you multiple options. You can't say like, oh, you're Caucasian and Asian. You just
Right.
put the mixed race option. So it doesn't really bother me because it's been with me for so long. But yeah, I can understand why some people might, you know, think it's weird. It's also the same when people are like, sometimes I say like I'm half Belgian, half Chinese, but it's like what's half? Like, it's
And then do you
it's
have like people like dissect, like is it like literally 50-50, and like And like, do you get questions like that, and like they just kind of quantify how much of like how Asian are you, how much of a Belgian are you, or they just take
Yeah.
it as like you're mixed?
Well, a lot of times I say that I'm half, and then it's kind of like, oh, okay, you don't look like it. Like, it's the first thing that they say. And then sometimes they even say like, oh, wow, like your mom's genes were weak or your dad's genes were strong or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, like it's very extra sometimes. But, I think even for me, it's difficult sometimes to really know how to feel about these kinds of situations because, um, like I said, I am mixed, but at the same time, I don't look mixed to people in the maybe the more common sense. So it's complicated, I think, for
So
me.
so growing up, I guess like do you kind of struggle with identity when you're young? When you're, or rather it was just kind of, I guess because right now, as at a 31 and stuff, you're able to grasp like how like conversations and stuff. But I was just want to poke into like how is it like going out as a biracial when you're like 5 years old, 6 years old, do or rather that's still much more okay because they do not really see the difference, and like they just kind of don't understand what is biracial and stuff, and that's like you totally do not have like questions like that, or do you struggle more with it because they kind of notice but they do not know how to comprehend it and kind of like bring about in terms of conversations, and you felt that that differentiation, or rather that's totally nothing like that?
I think for me, it was a completely different experience because, like I said, they can't tell that I'm biracial.
Okay.
But they can tell that I'm probably not from there. So it doesn't matter where I go. Everyone's always like, "Where are you from?" Like, "Where are you from? You just don't look like you're from here, but we don't know why." So I get that question a lot. But it also means I can kind of just blend in anywhere. Um, I think, yeah, I don't think I ever had much discrimination in terms of being, uh, biracial. Um, but maybe sometimes, people make comments uh, about skin color or something that like that's the only thing. It's like my skin is darker than maybe some of the towns that I lived in or something like that. But that's it.
Okay. So it's probably I wouldn't I will so it's probably I wouldn't say like it's like probably in your genes that like just like watercolors and stuff, you are very well blend in the sense, or rather like do you like do people so for example the one I just said like well blends and stuff like uh I guess it's like do you have like humor jokes and stuff, or does it bother you, or is it okay?
Um, uh, what kind of joke? Sorry.
No, like probably like like I was like mixed jokes or like biracial jokes and stuff, or rather that's do you get that a lot or no? Like tease?
Not too much actually. Uh, I don't get that many like biracial jokes so much.
Okay.
Um, maybe sometimes I'm in certain groups and they forget I'm Asian and they'll say like an Asian joke, and then that makes it extremely awkward for me because
Because
suddenly
you
I
understand that and they forgot about you understanding that.
yeah, um, and yeah, so that can be kind of weird.
Okay, so we have a question from AG.Gay. Like where are you really from? Is it like the most passive aggressive questions that you have? And like because you mentioned that they do not know as well exactly like you're from, and rather how what mix you are and stuff, and so do you get that a lot, and then it's kind of like an overused question that you're tired of explaining?
Well, when people say that, it's complicated, right? Because I was born in a place and raised in like five other places, basically Asia, Middle East, and America. So it feels like when we go around in a circle, for example, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm from here," or "I'm from there," and then it comes to me, and I'm just like, I kind of look at my friends, and they're like, "Oh, here comes the monologue." It's a bit, it's just like, oh, here we go. Like I have to explain.
They have that
But it,
that fixed set of explanations.
yeah, because if I just say Belgium, which is my passport, I feel I don't know. It's not that it's dishonest. It's just it doesn't paint the full picture. Um, so I always feel like I need to explain a bit more.
Okay, another question from Major. Okay, what do you hope the public takes away from your art, both in terms of watercolor and digital art? I guess.
Um, well, I think for the digital, it's easier. I just hope that it brings joy to people, that I can maybe like contribute to a conversation visually about whatever the topic is, whether it's about like sex or I don't know, maybe like gay stereotypes or something like that, like things that kind of impact our life in a more pop culture sense. And then I guess with my watercolors, it's more about um, there's obviously my deeper meaning, but I want people to look at my work and see something that they like, and maybe it'll touch them in a different way than when I created it. Maybe I was sad when I painted it, but then the person looks at it and sees joy or something else. And I never want to say like that's a wrong interpretation. It's like I created it a certain way, but you went home and you enjoy the painting in a different way. So yeah.
That's a really good answer. Um, so so it's almost 30 minutes. Yeah, we are into like 30 minutes and stuff. So just want to check whether do you get whether if so for the users, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and also feel free to use the question function where we will be able to add the questions and answer or rather address it. Um, Before we go, maybe you can just share more of some of the other artworks that you prepared and just kind of
Yeah.
share because so for those that have not seen the column, there's some artworks that is featured, but of course, we have more artworks that Kai prepared for us, and also do check out his individual page where he will be sharing more in the future as well, which is Kai Dusa. So yes, okay, that's more of so I really love this. So I shared this on our IG Asia.gay for because I mean for me how I relate to that was like a satisfying spill of tea like your BFF sister spilling tea and then you kind of like so satisfied over like a champagne brunch. So that was how I interpreted it and that was the caption that I used.
Yeah, I quite like that one. And actually, I just recently sold that one, so I'm super happy about it. This is one that I'm working on right now, so it's not
Oh, it's super
finished.
nice. I love this.
Yeah,
I love
so
this.
just the top half is pretty much is the part that I finished the background. So that's what I'm working on. But yeah, a lot of underwater stuff.
I always love the mood expressions for your watercolor. So like the one was like really satisfying for me where it's like sister spilling the tea. And like others was like I always enjoy the expression. For me the your watercolor for me was more of the expression that kind of like makes me decipher like what exactly is like the feel and the mood of the painting.
Yeah, those are some of them.
So if there's people that likes your arts, and so you mentioned the one that I just kind of use put on captions, the one where you just recently sold. If they like it, what is the mode of like them reaching out to you? Just probably slide your DM. Like how does it work?
Yeah, the best way right now is DMs. I used to have a website,
Okay.
but it's currently down because I need to do a major overhaul with everything on it, especially like the back end stuff, like the payment stuff and whatever. So best way right now is just DMs.
Okay, so to all the viewers that's watching this, and also I'll be archiving this on asia.gay, IGTV, and also it will be on my personal IG account as well. And also I will be having this on YouTube as well. And so just search asia.gay, and also just search Kai. It should appear on YouTube. And if you're interested in his artwork, you can slide into his DM, and also just discuss about the artworks and stuff. And also, as I mentioned at the start, he's single, and also you can also start into his DM pertaining to that as well. And yeah, and so just one last check before we go. If there's any other questions, before we go. Okay, Bobby, just maybe we can just do one last question. The guy asked, when he asked, do you see yourself more Asian or more European? Uh, I think you kind of touched on that. Do you have anything more to elaborate on this?
Um, Not really. I mean, the question that I now say, I mean, the answer that I give now a lot is I feel kind of Asian American because of my upbringing. That's what I relate closest to, even though I'm not American at all. So yeah, that's my short answer now.
Okay, so yeah, just to recap, these articles. So we have articles by Kai. It will be on the link in bio on asia.gay. So do check it out, and also do check out more of his upcoming hours on his personal account at Kai Dusa. Did I pronounce that right? Kai Dusa. I mean your
Yeah,
name is
I do
Kai,
so.
but I just can't read it out. Kai Dusa. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I do so.
also yeah, and he has his digital artworks as well on Kai Dusa Comics. And if you're interested, you can reach out to him via DM, and be it his art or him. And then yeah, his DM is open. And I think this is it. We come to the end of this live with everyone. So thank you for attending this, and also thank you for your column with us at Asia.gay. So for guys, do have a read and check it out. Links is in the link in bio on Asia.gay. So thanks guys, thanks everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.